Hi everybody, Lori here for Pinkfresh Studio. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a fun project to share with you featuring the In My Heart collection. And this collection comes with the In My Heart stamp set. There is an In My Heart coordinating stencil set, and there's also a coordinating die set. And you can mix and match all three of these to get a variety of different looks. For my project, I'm going to be using all three. So I'm going to start with the stencil set. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. If you want to stamp the floral border first and then stencil, you can do that. I, however, like to do things backwards. So first I'm going to stencil the floral border, and I'm starting with stencil number 1. You don't really have to go in order, but one thing I do love to do and I really appreciate is that Pinkfresh Studio puts the designs on the back of their packaging so you can kind of get an idea of what you're working with. And I didn't mention before, but there are 6 stencils in this coordinating stencil pack. So it's nice to refer to the packaging to see like which blooms am I blending right now. Okay, so I started with Sparkling Rose. I feel like I use Sparkling Rose on every single Pinkfresh Studio project that I ever make. It's just my favorite color. It's the perfect bubblegum pink. Now I didn't blend everything with Sparkling Rose because I'm going in on the other side a little bit two-tone with Apricot. So one side is pink and one side is orange just because I felt like it. So don't be afraid to mix your colors, make it two-toned. Live your life, you know what I mean? But if you want to make it really easy, you could just blend this all in one color. You can do that as well. A lot of different color options and looks that you can achieve. Okay, stencil number 2, which is another little cluster of blooms. This time I'm going in with yellow, lemon whip to be exact. So I'll have all the colors and names linked if I don't mention specifically. But you could customize this for different holidays. If you wanted to make this Christmassy, you could use an array of reds and greens and make it very festive. I feel like I kind of gravitate towards these orange, pinks, and yellows, which are probably more spring and summery. But you know what? Do what you love is the bottom line. Okay, so there you have a layer. I mixed a little marigold with the lemon whip to give it that two-tone effect. Now here is some of the leaves, stencil number 3, and I go in with fresh pear. And I actually come in later with this same stencil and lay it on again and add some variety of intensity. I pull out Grassy, knoll, I think, or key lime, one of the two. But I almost always like to add a light and a dark. It's just kind of, what I call gradient love. Gives it that extra zhuzh, for lack of a better term. Okay, here we are. We're moving along. So the reason that I stencil first is because sometimes I actually love the way it looks using the stencil alone without the stamp set. But you never know until you do it. So a lot of times I like to stencil first, see if I love it. I might not even use the stamp set. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? It needs more detail. Add the stamp set. So that's why I usually like to stencil first. So I'm adding little detail. These are like the details to all your blooms. I'm using the same colors, Apricot, Sparkling Rose, just going a little bit heavier handed. And we're on to stencil number 5, and we're just flying by. These projects come together lickety-split. Hopefully it doesn't look like I'm going too fast, but I am a speedy little blender, I do it a lot, and I love it. And there's not much area to blend, just little dots here and there, so it's very easy. The thing I love about Pinkfresh Studio products, when there's 6 coordinating stencils and you build up all this dimension and layer, it makes you look like you know what you're doing. It makes you look like you got your life together. Last stencil, number 6, and these are the little centers to the little yellow blooms. So I just pulled out Marigold, going with a heavy hand to make a dark orangey yellow center to all those little yellow blooms. And of course you could customize the colors. Now here's where I go back in because I felt like the leaves were just a little bit flat. They needed more variation. So I pulled out Grassy Knoll, which is a darker shade to that fresh pear. I don't do all of it, just certain parts, and it gives it that bit of gradient love. And that is everything for the In My Heart stencil set. Look how it comes together. So easy and so beautiful. Now I'm going to use the coordinating die to the In My Heart, and I'm going to cut out this border. Now I was thinking I could leave it stencil alone, but as you can see, there's a lot of white space in the inner part because that is where the frame is in the stamp set. So I decided to go ahead and stamp it over top of my stenciling. So I'm lining up that In My Heart floral border image over the stenciling. I didn't want it to be too stark, so I'm not going to use black. What I'm going to use is Misty Coast, which is a very light gray. And I'm also using one of the My Sweet Petunia sticky mats in my Misty. That's what's holding down my die cut steady and in place so that I could stamp it, because I did need to stamp it twice. Stamp it twice to make it nice. Stamp that twice with Misty Coast. That gives you that little bit of detail. It also shows you that frame. And I'm going to turn this into a shaker. So I'm backing the die cut with some tape runner. I've already trimmed out a little sheet of acetate to size, popping that on the back for a little shaker window. Okay, so then I'm going to put some foam adhesive. I have some of these pre-trimmed foam adhesive strips. I believe these are by Waffle Flower. So handy dandy when you're making shakers. You just pop them on. They're nice and thin and they're ready to go. And just make sure that all your seams are close together so none of your shaker filler comes popping out. I'm just using some clear iridescent confetti for my filler. I would use Pinkfresh Studio embellishments, but that's just too many to put in a shaker. I can't bear, because I kind of hoard them, and I didn't want to fill a whole shaker. You got to be selective. Now for a sentiment, I'm using the new Jeff Alpha dies to spell out U. So first I did the backer shadow out of white, and I did the letters out of 3 different shades of solid color cardstock that kind of coordinate with my floral border. So I'm popping on the letters onto the white shadow backer, and then I'm going to adhere those right onto that acetate shaker window. I'm using foam adhesive to pop these on. I'm trying to center, just spelling out the word U right in the center of the shaker card. So there you have a colorful little U. Now I'm going to use the In My Heart stamp set and emboss a little sub-sentiment in white on a little strip of green cardstock. There's several sentiments in the In My Heart stamp set that would coordinate perfectly with the big U Jeff Alpha dies. So there's this one says, I'm so excited for you. There's another one that says, you are great. And there's a few other ones. So if you want to use the Jeff Alphas to spell out you, and then you can emboss a sub-sentiment that kind of coordinates with those larger alpha dies. And this card is finished. There you have, I'm so excited for you, a little shaker featuring the In My Heart collection. You got the stencil, the stamp, the die. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.